Well, after a rocky start, it would seem the season of Flash has officially begun. Hey guys, remember The Flash, Season 3, Episode 6, Shade, and I was definitely really looking forward to this episode. Yes, this season really has not been the best start. I think it's been a very slow start, definitely, and there's been a lot of hits and misses with this show. For every hit, there's been a miss, but I gotta say, this is the direction the show needs to go in. I really did love this episode. By far the best episode of the season, without a doubt. Easily my favorite. I thought there was just some really great stuff here. Most of the major plots that we've been waiting to start really did start in this episode. There were some huge reveals in this episode. Well, stuff that we already were privy to, but stuff the other characters really do find out, and I really did love that. So let's just get in this episode because I really do love where the season is headed now. Hopefully the momentum of this episode really does keep things up, because if it does, we could be on the precipice of something really, truly great. But let's just get in this episode. I love the way this episode starts, because immediately it really does throw us off. We see this running sequence, and it's very similar to Barry saying, my name is Barry Allen, but instead it's Wally. He's talking about how he's Kid Flash and how it's pretty great, and it turns out to just be a dream. He's actually telling Joe about his dreams as a speedster, but Joe's very worried that Dr. Alchemy's messing with his mind, and he knows, what Dr. Alchemy can do. And I like that while they don't know, who Dr. Alchemy really is, they don't really know what he's doing, they know that he's playing mind games. And on the other hand, Wally thinks that he's gaining these powers and that these are simply visions of the future, he feels, which I didn't find Wally annoying here. I understood why he wants to be. Wally's someone who has been really trying to find his purpose. He's been trying to, reinvigorate into the group, and he's been wanting to help since day one. So it makes sense why Wally really wants to, do something here, because he wants to do something big, and you definitely see that. And back at Central City PD, Barry and Julian are in this lab investigating another husk when Cecile pops in to assign Barry to the metahuman team full-time. We find that Julian is a girlfriend this episode. I thought it was cool to see Julian here. They didn't do nearly as much with him as they did in the last episode, which I was a little bit disappointed with, but because of how great everything was, it wasn't really that much of a complaint. I did like what they did with him in this episode overall. So basically, she's going to assign Barry to the metahuman team full-time, and Cecile's also flirting with Joe. They plan a movie night, and I like that Joe has a love interest. It just gives him something a little bit different to do that we haven't really seen. We're so used to him having a plot with Iris or having a plot with Wally, and him having a love interest, I really do like. Joe talks to Barry about Wally's Kid Flash dreams, and they both determine that he's in trouble. They know they need to help him somehow. They know this isn't a good idea, and I like that. I like that they're both on the same page here. I like that they both feel that Wally's in danger, because, yeah, this isn't really a good thing. Wally feels a good thing because he feels, oh, sweet, I'm getting these powers, and I'm finally doing something great to the group. I finally can contribute something, but at the same time, he has no idea how powerful and how manipulative that Dr. Alchemy really is, and they do, which I think is something that this episode showed very well, and it really just showed that while Dr. Alchemy is strong, they are very slowly starting to understand, and that's something that already is improving over last season. So we see, meanwhile, at Star Labs, HR is trying to win over Caitlin and Cisco, and I'm really loving Tom Cavanaugh as HR. He just has such range. I mean, for him to go to this very maniacal, evil-type character to a dick, sort of, to now a very flamboyant and very energetic and charismatic type HR. They're three completely different roles, and I like that. I like that we're getting pretty much a different Harrison Wells every season. It's a little bit cheesy, I'm not gonna lie, but I think they did it pretty well here. There were a couple times when he got annoying, but it's Tom Cavanaugh. He's so great as this character. It's hard to not love him in the show, and he suggests to reopen Star Labs as a museum, using him as the face of the new attraction, but obviously they finally break it to him that his face is well known as a murderer, and he really shouldn't step foot outside the lab. It's just not really a good idea for him to do that, obviously, because, everyone still sees him as Reverse Flash. That's something that will always happen to Wells. The only reason why Wells is with, the reason why Wells is in Star Labs, because that's the only place he can be right now. If he goes outside of Star Labs, everyone's going to see him as, Reverse Flash, and they're going to think that he's back. So obviously, they need to keep him as far away from the public as possible, and that's something we didn't really touch into last season. That's because Wells just didn't really care last season. Like, that Wells didn't care. This Wells is a lot different than that. He's much more concerned about the public. He's just much more of a people person. That's something that we haven't really seen from the more introverted Wells we got last season. So back at the West residence, Barry comes clean with Wally, telling him that in the Flashpoint timeline, he was a speedster fighting the rival, but he had no help and was in danger, and I like that Barry did come clean to him about this. I like that we saw Barry realizing, look, I need to tell him the truth of what's going on, because last season it would have taken forever for him to finally tell him, and I like that he did in fact tell him in this episode, because yeah, Wally needs to know what was going on, and no matter what Joe and Barry say, though, Wally is set on being Kid Flash, and I didn't find this annoying. Like I said, Wally has always wanted to contribute something. He wants to be a part of the team. Whether if he really can do it or not, he feels like it's his duty to do, and he will do anything to make it happen. He accuses Joe of not trusting him enough to let him be a speedster, because he really just doesn't trust him over Barry, because he hasn't been there as long, and yeah, that really is true. I mean, I wouldn't say that Joe doesn't trust Wally, but him and Barry do have a bond that Wally and him just don't really have, and that's the simple truth. Sadly, Wally ends up leaving the room in tears, and I really did feel for him in this situation, honestly. I think last season, I was kind of hard on Wally, because they didn't really give him that great of stuff to do. You know, he seemed to just be a whiny teenager, and this episode, he really was going through a significant struggle. I understood why he was going through what he was. I understood why Wally felt this way. I mean, there's a lot of reasons to feel this way. You know, they're not really giving him the benefit of the doubt. They're not really giving him any option here. He wants to be like Barry. He wants to be as good as Barry, and I think Keenan Lonsdale really, you can tell, has really gotten into this character, and he's really selling it so much more than he did last season. That's something that I'm really getting from Wally that I just didn't really get last season at all. So then we cut to a random unsuspecting Wall Street type businessman discussing trades and such on his cell phone. This huge shadow man appears out of thin air. He grabs his throat. We don't know what this is all about, but this was definitely very interesting. So Barry and Julian are on the scene the next morning. I like these two are a little more trusting of each other. It's more interesting to see them in this dynamic than have Julian be so suspicious of Barry. And where witnesses are saying that the victim was actually crushed by a huge shadow man, I'm like, oh no, not another monster, please. But this gets a lot more interesting, trust me. Barry reaches out to Julian, invites him to family movie night. Julian declines and acts like they didn't decide to be best friends after Flash saved his life from the hacker kid. And I don't know why Julian is suddenly not listening to Barry. I get it that he has a girlfriend, that he doesn't really want to be with Barry all the time, but at the same time, Barry just opened up to him. Barry told him what was going on, and for some reason, Julian's being a dick about it. I don't really know why. I hope that they do more with Julian than just have him be with Barry and have him not listen to Barry and just, you know, kind of be a dick. I don't want him to be the dick. I want him to be an interesting character. They gave us some great stuff in the last episode. I'm hoping that they don't really end up doing that with him. Other than that, this episode was great, but just this stuff with Julian felt very off to me. So Joe doesn't know where Wally is, neither does Barry. We don't really know where he's gone, but back at Star Labs, HR is not giving up. He will do whatever he can to make sure that he can, you know, reopen Star Labs. He appears with a completely different face. Cisco takes the face charger gadget and says he's keeping it until he gets the metahuman cuffs back that hipster Wells that HR stole from him, and just a really fun scene. I like the way that Cisco said, I miss the asshole Wells. Thought that was really funny. You never thought that he'd say that, but he really does miss him, because this is just a completely different Wells they haven't really dealt with before, and that we're not used to at all. Just like last year we weren't really used to the one, this one I'm definitely not used to at all. We see back in the Cortex, Barry tells Team Flash about the Shadow Man, and HR explains that on his planet a man named Shade was able to move so quickly he looked like a shadow. And Barry explains to the team that he needs to focus on Wally, so we asked Cisco to actually take care of the Shade problem, which this is something we haven't really seen before. We're so used to the Flash going after the metahuman, but no, he tells Cisco to take care of him. And in the moment, Wally walks into Central PD. He talks to Joe, explains that he's nervous about Wally getting his speed, and he doesn't really trust what's happening to him. You know, he's worried that he's going to get himself killed. He doesn't really know if Wally is ready for what's happening to him. You know, he hasn't really had the experience that Wally has. Wally says he understands, but he has an attack of memories flying his brain. He falls to the ground, and again, really well done scene. I like the way that, you know, like I said, Alchemy is messing with his mind. I think it's overall very interesting, and I thought that definitely was really well done, the way that that happened. And then we get a scene that I was very surprised to see happen so early, but at the same time was much deserving. So, back at Star Labs, Caitlin actually reveals to Cisco that she's starting to become Killer Frost again, we see, which I was very surprised to see her actually come clean about this. I thought this was going to be episodes and episodes, but no, she actually tells him, and she tells him how afraid she is. She asks him to vibe him into the future for her, so she knows if she'll be good or bad, because she's so concerned that she's going to become, like Killer Frost, and Cisco does just that. He sees a cold scene of Killer Frost in a battle, but instead of telling Caitlin what he really saw, he lies to her and says he didn't see a thing. Obviously, he doesn't want to tell her what actually happened, because she says that if she does become like Killer Frost, she's going to leave forever because she just doesn't want to do anything that she regrets. And again, they're giving such great stuff to Caitlyn. They're really utilizing her very well in a way they haven't before, and I absolutely love that. It's just this whole new side to her that we have not seen, and I love pretty much everything that's going there. But Caitlyn checks out Wally to make sure that he is okay, and his vitals are fine, but Wally says that he had visions of the rival chasing him, and Barry confirms that they are memories from the Flashpoint timeline. All are afraid that Dr. Alchemy is behind this because, you know, he was connected to that, and now he's come back from the Flashpoint. So Barry volunteers to stay behind with Wally at the lab while the rest of the crew heads to family movie night to see The Shining, which I thought was funny that Cisco wanted to go despite the fact that he was terrified of that movie. HR is coming as well, and Caitlyn notices that Cisco is acting strange since he vibed. He tells her that he saw that both of them fighting each other in his future vision. I thought it was surprising that he told her, but he pleads with her to tell the rest of Team Flash, and I like that he told her, but at the same time, it kind of lessens tension between those two. I think we could have some good stuff there, but I was surprised that he told her so quickly. But either way, Joe and Cecile are have some really nice scenes together at the outdoor movie. She's talking about how she actually is a daughter too, and they're bonding over that. I like that Joe has a love interest, just something we haven't really seen before. It's refreshing, and I like that overall. But back at Star Labs, Barry and Iris are keeping an eye on Wally. He's locked up to keep him safe. Iris explains how hard it is to be a bystander when all you want to do is help people, which Iris definitely knows how to relate to that. And Barry has this really great scene where he looks her in the eye with a big smile and says, no matter what she thinks, there is no Flash without Iris. And that's very true, but at the same time, Iris has not really played that major of a role in this, so I don't really know what Barry's exactly talking about, because she hasn't really played that major of a role, but okay. But back at the movie, Fake Face Wells is crossing the line with Cecile with some flirty touches when all of a sudden Shade appears in front of the screen. Joe yells for everyone to move out of the way. Meanwhile, Dr. Alchemy is talking to Wally. There's a mind saying the time has come to set you free, and we don't know really what's going to happen with that, but Wally's then being physically attacked in his cell. Iris tells him he needs to fight through the dream. Dr. Alchemy's yelling in his ear, scratching him on the glass. Wally screams, open the door, and the Flash shows up. He tries to catch Shade, which breaks down to a massive battle. The rest of the gang jumps in the van to turn on the overhead lights, and Shade disintegrates into a human, and Barry puts the cuffs on him. Wally's still being attacked, screaming to be released. Iris opens the door. He throws her to the side, and Iris has to punch him in the face to stop him from running out of the lab. So you can really tell that it's really hard to get Dr. Alchemy out of his head. As much as Wally doesn't want to listen to him, it's kind of hard to not to. So Wally's in safe and sound. He's back in the cell. Team Flash figures that Shade must have been sent by Dr. Alchemy as a trick. Again, this is Dr. Alchemy using him as one of his, someone to recruit Wally and everything. And meanwhile, Cisco pushes Caitlyn to tell the rest of the team she's turning into Killer Frost, and she actually tells everyone. I was shocked that she told Barry, but she does, and he tells the team about the future vision. Barry leaves the room to comfort Caitlyn, and I like that Barry actually did take the blame for this. Like, he didn't try to be all douchey about it like a lot of people say he is. He actually said, look, this is my fault. I fucked up. I'm sorry about that. He blames himself because he made the mistake of creating Flashpoint. He says no matter what he does, everything is different, and yeah, it's true. Everything he does is different. There's just the different dynamics, and I like that it's very subtle things, like, Cisco being mad at Barry, or Caitlyn being Killer Frost. These are just things that didn't really happen, or Iris and Joe having a significantly different bond than they did. It's just different than what Barry's used to, and he can tell it's really affected everyone. I like that overall. I like that Barry's really has affected the team in this major way he really didn't expect to, and I think it's really adding something to this show that we really haven't seen before. And again, things are just a lot different now that Barry has created Flashpoint. I like that he is taking the blame for this, but Caitlyn's very upset. She can't believe what's happening to her, and I like seeing that overall. So while he wakes up, he tells everyone that Dr. Alchemy is speaking to him and wants him to come find him when another attack strikes. Wally's having a really hard time. They give him a sedative to help him calm down. Joe and Barry decide to listen to Wally and use him to find Dr. Alchemy. Joe suits up with the rest of the CCPD SWAT squad, sorry, that's hard to say, and gets everyone ready for the plan. Wally's nervous but ready to help find Dr. Alchemy. Caitlyn apologizes for being angry with Cisco for spilling the Killer Frost beans. She reminds her that when it comes to the impossible, they're the experts. The team then moves to an abandoned subway area where Dr. Alchemy is hiding. He's still directing Wally to come to him. Wally's trying to lead the way, and the Flash shows him it's okay to be scared. Let's do this. I like seeing these two work together. It was really cool, and that's something I think we've been waiting for all season. He then walks into this really creepy dark room, and the last 5 minutes of the episode were just so great. I love the way this was done. Hooded figures are bowing on the ground, and Dr. Alchemy says hello, Wally. He asks him if he wants the life he wishes to return. Dr. Alchemy is taking out the Flash. Barry's in trouble. Joe enters with the team, screams, "Get on the ground." They tell Dr. Alchemy that it's over, but he says he has no idea what's about to begin. Barry's seeing visions of a speedster in the room that no one else can see. The speeding white streak takes out all the police. Wally picks up a rock that turns him into a stone pillar. The white streak stops, showing his metallic silver face, clutches Barry by the throat, lifts him to the ceiling. We don't know what exactly is going on here, but Barry yells, "Who are you?" And the speedster replies, "Savitar," and that is what we're going to be dealing with, I'm guessing, for the rest of the season. But really great way to end the episode. Really great episode overall. Let me just get into this episode where I think we're headed for the rest of the season. So, yes, you could very well blame Wally for what ended up happening to him and, what happened with Savitar and everything. But at the same time, you get it. Wally wants to fight. He wants to be on Barry's side. He wants to be as strong as Barry. He sees what Barry's doing. He wants to save people, and I think that's what this is really about. It's not about him wanting to just, be a dick and cause problems. It's about him actually wanting to save people and actually have some sort of impact, and I like seeing that overall, Wall, and I think Keenan Lonsdale, like I said, he's just adding so much more into his performance this year that's a lot more convincing, and I'm liking what we're getting from a lot more than I did last year. Last year, I didn't really care about him this much at this point, but I like what we've gotten with him so far, and I think overall, he's doing a really good job. I really am liking Wally West so far this season. But the big question is, what exactly is going to happen to him? He's now the stone pillar. I don't know if Dr. Alchemy's going to be like, okay, look, I'll turn you into Kid Flash if you give me the Flash. I don't really know what Dr. Alchemy's real motive is. You just know that obviously he's working with some really bad people, and I like that. I like that it's not, oh, I want to kill the Flash. I like that it's not this. Like, there's definitely more to it. And if it turns out to be him wanting Barry's speed, I'm gonna be really pissed if it's that. I want this to be a completely different motive that we haven't seen before, and I really hope that's where the show is headed, because this seems really different than anything we've done before, and I like that so far. But as far as Savitar goes, I don't really know what Savitar's whole deal is. I'm hoping this isn't something that just lasts one episode. I'm hoping that Savitar and Dr. Alchemy work together and that he stays on for the rest of the season. I can't stand it when they release a villain that seems like they're going to be really substantial and then they're gone the next episode. I'm hoping that's not the case with this, but we'll have to see. I think overall that's very interesting. What I was most surprised about is the stuff done with Killer Frost. I did not expect the amount of plot that went on with Caitlin to happen in this episode. I expected maybe for Cisco to find out. I did not expect for the entire team to find out. And it looks like next week we're going to be dealing with that. Again, I'm a bit worried that that's going to be a one-episode thing because it's called Killer Frost. And I'm hoping that this really interesting Caitlin arc stays throughout, permeates throughout the rest of the season. Because I'm loving everything we're getting with that. I think it's Caitlin's best arc to date. And I think it's some of the best work that Daniel Panabaker has ever had, really. And I think it really would be a shame to get rid of it. And it would be a real loss if they just ended it really quickly, because there's no reason to do that. You have a really potentially interesting storyline here, and you have a really good character, and there's a lot they can do with her. My other fear is that she's going to leave the show, because if she's talking about leaving and things like that, and we've heard this many times before, and especially since people are saying that this is kind of like Arrow Season 3, where a lot of characters left, I am hoping that's not the case with The Flash. Caitlin is a character that hasn't had a ton to do thus far. This is her most interesting arc to date, and if they get rid of her, I'm going to be really upset if they do that, because she's a very potentially interesting arc, and I really don't think that getting rid of her is the right way to go. It just doesn't really seem like that's the right thing to do here, but we will have to see. I think it's definitely going to be interesting to see where they go with that. As far as HR, I mean, HR, it definitely is a force to be reckoned with. He's very interesting to deal with, and I'm looking forward to seeing the way that that's all going to go. I think that's going to be very interesting. The fact that he wants to create, this museum. He seems to always have something up his sleeve, and I'm definitely starting to like him more than I have, so I like what they did with him. Even Iris, I like what they did with Iris in this episode. I like the dynamic she had with Barry. I thought overall that was very sweet, and there was just something really cute about that scene. I liked the way that was done overall. And then I guess the only thing to talk about really is Joe and Cecile. I like that Joe as a girlfriend, just someone we really haven't seen before. I think overall it's good that Joe actually has someone in his life that cares for him and that he wants to be with. Really good stuff there, and I think it really is adding something to this season with Joe that we really haven't seen before. And then Julian, I just hope they give more for Julian to do than just be this brooding cop who's just mad at Barry all the time. I hope there's more to it than that, because if it's really just going to be him neglecting Barry, that's just not going to be that interesting to see. But overall, guys, I really enjoyed this episode. This was definitely one of the strongest episodes of the season. I really enjoyed it overall. But aside from a few things that didn't really make a ton of sense to me, like that Iris scene just seemed like it was there because they want to give Iris something to do. Iris is severely lacking this season. This entire show she's been severely lacking, but especially this season. She had a lot more to do last season. I want to see them give her more to do because she's like the second main character and she has like nothing to do. That's my review. Hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you guys thought of this episode overall. Love your thoughts on it. And we'll see you guys in the next video, which will be for the highly anticipated premiere of the final season of Teen Wolf, which I am so excited for. And we'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.